Hello friends, this is Akulmach live and my name is Chandrakant. Today we will discuss about how to have a pragmatic approach towards partnership. It is very important to have a very well thought strategy around partnership, especially now when we are forced to have a lot of partnership within our country as well as across the borders into multiple countries. So we will have a very distinguished guest joining us to discuss this subject. He's joining us from UK. I will take a short break and join back with my guest. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back in a moment. Welcome back, friends, and I'm very happy to have our guest today with us, Mr. Mike Bradley, who is joining us from UK today, and we have a very interesting subject to discuss. It's about pragmatic approach towards partnership. So, Mike, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm very good, sir. Very good indeed. And we've had a little bit of Indian summer weather for the last week, so I've been enjoying it, getting out to the beach and getting out on the motorbike and all that sort of stuff. So very good.
Fantastic. So we are actually quite wet here. So the world which is reeling under the wet monsoon or rains, I think there are other areas who are actually enjoying yourself, or there are other extremes where there are forest fires. So I think world is going crazy as far as environment is concerned.
It certainly is. It's been warned for a while now, and here we all are, sort of still trying to go on our own sweet way, do things exactly as we did before, and then wondering why things are getting worse, and the weather, the weather's getting more crazy, and the world's getting warmer. But it's okay to point the finger and say someone else can give up meat or can stop traveling around, but we all want to keep doing the same things as before. So lot's going to change unless we all take responsibility, I don't think.
Absolutely. For the benefit of viewers, Mike actually heads one of the very fantastic company based in UK, and that company is called scaleuparena, and they actually do a lot of partnership. They help a lot of partners to come together and help them to do business together. So today's subject is also very interesting. It is pragmatic approach towards partnership. So Mike, since you deal in this particular domain, why don't you tell our viewers how we should do partnership and what is the most pragmatic approach? I think you can split it down into multiple sessions, so today being the first one.
Okay. Well, I think obviously partnerships are all about people. That's the first thing to say. So it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in a niche market, whether you're in a national market, whether you're trying to go global. Basically, it's going to come down to the people that you work with. So what the key to a good partnering approach is to start from the premise that it's the people you have to work with. So I've got a little, what I call 5 C's, another one, my alliterations, which I think are quite crucial in this area. The first one is both parties, and there's that old cliche win-win, and you have to ensure that there is a win-win in the partnership that you're trying to set up. And that means it's got to be, the first C, complementary. So there's no point seeking to do a partnership where one party feels that it's disadvantaged or it's not equally in its own interest to the other party. So it's got to be completely complementary to what's going on at the moment. Doesn't matter where that is, what sector it is. It mustn't be seen to be competitive, and it's got to be seen to be helping to do the existing business plus incrementally add something extra. So that's my first C, if you like. Would you agree with that one, Chandra?
Yes, Mike, I think that's quite interesting. But when we are working across the border between multiple countries, what is your advice to people? Because, now the different business houses are coming from totally different cultures. Sometimes cracking a joke is accepted, but in other countries, When you talk business, they are very, very serious. So how do you handle this? And I think today's subject is pragmatic. So how do you handle this situation pragmatically?
That is my second C, culture. Now, what you have to do is be aware of the culture in which you're trying to trade. Setting aside, and there's that old expression, separate the people from the problem. So what you're doing is you're supplying a solution to a problem. Doesn't matter where it is. But you cannot separate the people and the culture of those people from trying to sell your solution and solve the problem. So you have to recognize that the norms for the culture you're working in are going to be different. The traditions, when deals are done, are they done, over breakfast meetings? Are they done at lunch? Are they done purely on a pragmatic, purely professional, non-personal basis? And so you have to be able to understand those cultures. So in order to work with the culture, the most sensible approach is to work local. So you can have your product, supply it into the market, but work in conjunction with local delivery partners, because they are the ones who are going to understand the people, know the cultures, know whether you should offer a mango lassi or a pint of lager. All those sort of things are really important. So culture is the second C. So I'm glad you picked me up on that one. So that's my second recommendation, is you're culturally sensitive and you work in a complementary way with the local culture. My third C is communication. So what you have to do is ensure that there is good, clear, open lines of communication between you. That the objective, the product, the solution has a very clear definition, what it is, why it's important, how it's delivered, and most importantly, who it gets delivered to. And you've got to very clearly ensure that the messages that go with the product fit the culture and fit the communication of that culture. Because we could, and I think we see this between India and the UK. Sometimes the sentences that we put together in the UK aren't quite so straightforward when they're translated into the Indian culture, and vice versa. So it's very easy to misinterpret a sentence. So we have to really ensure that the communication is crystal clear, and what the proposition is and how it benefits and the deliverables it gives are clear in the culture and the language of the partner you're working with.
Well, Mike, I think that is for sure very important point that you have mentioned today. But sometimes, people don't have that exposure, to get these 3 C's, learning on these 3 C's that you talk about. And these are, I think, the starting point of any partnership. What they should do, are there any books, or is there any help available where people can learn? I mean, for example, India is okay. It's not very bad. But if you go too further east, it can be really, really, really bad, even for Indians, because we don't understand Japanese culture, we don't understand Chinese culture, Korean, what they like, how they sit. When you're walking and not looking at them, does it mean anything? Does not mean anything. So we don't know. So I think we can be cool between UK, US, and India, where we don't care about these things, but then there are other people who actually care about these things. So is there something like this available? And you already mentioned that we work with a local partner. I think that is one stopgap. But then again, how do you handle the local partner also? Because the local partner will also be from that country. So I think that's a challenge. How do you handle this whole situation?
Yeah, I think there's, and that comes down to the 4th C, funny enough, which is contacts. So what you do is you're establishing the contacts within the partner. You probably need to identify the person who's going to be your inside sponsor, your inside contact person. You build up rapport with that person. You then start to understand how each other work and what the solution is and how it's delivered. But also if you're going to shall we say, a very different culture, there are training sessions and there are online courses that you can take to say, if I'm going to do work in Japan, what do I need to understand? And there are courses for that sort of thing, and they're all online. It's very easy to get familiar with, say, the executive level approach, or how people interact with each other, how contacts work, how you trade, when do you ask for the order, or do you not ask for the order? Do you offer something else? And then they say, oh, yes, I want 3 million of those. And you say, yes, fine. So again, it comes down to contacts and building rapport. It's all about the people. At the end of the day, it's between two people that the deal's going to end up working. So we have to be adaptable. It's something I think you can learn. It's a form of, I suppose you could call it cultural intelligence, as opposed to emotional intelligence. So I think you can develop cultural intelligence. The more you travel, the more you work, the more you realize that there are a lot of similarities between people across the world, and there's fractional changes that are important, that differentiate the different cultures, and you've got to be sensitive to those, be open, willing to learn, etc. And then, of course, the final C is clients, because ultimately, to make the partnership work, you need to actually identify who are the best clients to go after with that partner. And because of focus, resources, objective, which I believe is productivity, performance, and payback, what you have to do is you have to work with the local teams, the local executives, the local sales management, and say, well, okay, let's look at your client base. I don't want to talk to the 80% of clients who do virtually nothing with you. Let's focus in on the 20% of clients that are your best clients. Now let's pick 1, 2, or 3 of those, and we will go and talk to those clients together. And initially it's like, I will do the pitch because I know my product. Over the course of time, you'll get the hang of it. And then you can start using and telling people about the product as well. Because initially there needs to be a lot of support around the solution, how it deploys, etc. And this can be a future session. We can talk about the 4 pillars, and we can also talk about how you accelerate the growth. But it comes down to clients, comes down to focus. Don't try and talk to everybody, because you're not going to win that. The short-term opportunity is to break into the biggest clients where they know your partner, and your partner walks in and they're the trusted advisor. And when your partner walks in and the CEO of the client says, or the board level says, actually, you know what, because you've walked in with this company, I will talk to you. I'm interested to hear what you've got that's complementary with what we're already buying from our partner. And that's when things start to happen. Of course, there is a sort of a 6th C, which I didn't mention as one of the 5, but I think it's something that if you've got it, flaunt it, is what I call charm, which is the ability to actually get on with people, the way you can actually interact, build bridges, because, I don't know, for all the other reasons we've talked about, you have the ability to communicate properly with people. So I think a bit of charm comes into it as well.
Well, Mike, I think sometimes asking for order can be beating around the bush always, because you don't understand, when to ask, what is the timing, what is a right process, ways, so you're always beating the bush. I think this is a very interesting subject, and we cannot finish this in very short period of time. So we will continue our discussion next week on the pragmatic approach towards partnership with the people, by the people, and for the people. Thank you so much for joining us today and giving us all this information, and we'll catch up again in the next show. Mike.
Been a pleasure, and I'm happy to elucidate a little further. Say a little more.
Bye-bye for today. We'll catch up next week.
Yeah, take care, Chandra.